Hi, welcome everybody. We're just about to start yet. Maybe we give it just a few more minutes to allow people to join. I think we're expecting a bit more who have registered. But in the meantime, as you are joining, please put in the chat who you are. We welcome you. Enter your name and where you're coming from or which part of the delegation you are part of. Maybe we can start with that. And maybe give another minute or two before we begin. And just to let you all know again, this is recorded. It will be on our website for those who unfortunately can't make it with us today, but then they can also have the information for the ILE. So welcome you all again, and love to know who's in the room with us. So please put your name and which delegation as part of the International Learning Exchange you form part of. Thank you so much. Okay, so I think we will begin just for the interest of time because we both have the English session and then a recorded French session afterwards. So I would like to introduce myself. My name is Belinda Abraham, and I am here supporting the WASH in Schools Network Secretariat in the preparation for the third, I can't believe it, third African WASH in Schools International Learning Exchange. And we're glad that everybody here is with us and joining us today. So we have a full agenda in preparation for the International Learning Exchange, which many of you know will start from the 10th of November to the 14th, if I've got the dates correct. And I'm getting a nod from Natalie, so it's correct. Great. It will be taking part in Port Elizabeth, but I think I will leave it to Knox to pronounce the new name, which is Hegeba. Anyway, I will let Knox help me with that, pronouncing the proper name of the city of the former city of Port Elizabeth. So today's agenda, full but interesting, to prepare us and to make actually the international exchange the most fruitful and successful. We will be starting with, obviously now, the introductions. And again, welcome all of you to put your name and which delegation you're part of in the chat box so we know who is here. We will have a little bit of ILE past and present, a background on the ILE concepts and evaluation. I see there might be some new people here to understand a little bit about what is when we say international learning exchange. This is, while we're doing the third one in Africa, there have been 9 more editions that were done previously. So a background, and Bella will sort of send us through that. Then we'll go through with the introduction of the Enabling Environment Matrix. This will be done by Mariah, who is with us today from UNICEF headquarters. Then we'll be followed then by information and announcements, which are specifically related to the International Learning Exchange, a bit more on logistics and other information in preparation. Many of you have already received the invitations, you've received the administrative letters, so there may be some questions and perhaps questions that need and clarifications that are required there. And then we will open it up for our overall general questions, discussions, answers, and if necessary, next steps in closing. So with that, we can go right away, and I would love to introduce Bella Muntz. She is the Senior Advisor for the Fit for Schools. She provides technical assistance to the Effective School Health Program, and she's with GIZ. And I would say a veteran of ILE, so no better person to speak on that background. So Bella, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Belinda. And I have not such a good internet connection. I say hi, so you can see me, but I will now switch off the camera so that I perhaps can be better heard. Can you hear me? Okay.
We can.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, wonderful to see everyone here, and we look very much forward to have the next ILE. And I will give a bit of background on the ILE concept. Next slide, please. to give a bit of an idea. So what is the ILE? It is an regional, and with regional we mean an African, in this case African, previously Southeast Asian platform, exchange platforms, and the first time in 2012 by GIZ and UNICEF to bring together ministries of education and different WASH stakeholders to learn and to see and to learn from each other and exchange on the topic of WASH in schools. It took place the very first time in the Philippines, and it started in 2012. We had it 9 times in Southeast Asia, even online during the pandemic. But since 2023, it's also happening in Africa. The objective of the ILEs is really to share knowledge, specifically align efforts on national level, build political commitment, and to develop, as we said here, strong global and national advocacy for WASH in schools. What has really shown to be very effective is that really country teams come together with ministries of education, different that national technical working group as a group, and they learn together. And of course, to support the SDG 4.8.1, which is to increase the access to basic WASH services in schools. Next slide. Well, how does the ILE work? There will be country teams looking for regional alignment, as we said before, exchange and learn between countries, look for a policy dialogue, look also over each other's shoulder, how do other countries have formed their policies and what technical measures do they take. And there's a lot of exchange between the countries. It happens via country presentations. It happens also giving a direction coming from guiding bodies like UNICEF, like representatives from the African Union or from the World Bank to give direction. And then there is a lot of exchange. We'll have field visits, and we look how to plan and also support each other with this planning process. There is much encouragement with education sector leadership for WASH in schools. It has for long been unclear who's taking the lead for WASH in schools. Very often it's with ministries of health or with responsibility is given to water sector, but it's very much looking what from the education sector perspective, how to take the lead and also to use the enabling environment matrix to keep the direction, to plan, to proper plan, not to leave out any important area and to track progress over time. Next slide. Yeah. So as we see here, 9 ILEs were held in Asia. So that's the figure. All in all, these were 25 countries took place and over 1,000 participants. Many of the participants participated in many of the events. It was not always the same group, but from countries, very often they know each other already, and they also supported each other in their further pathway on including WASH in schools. And there has been let me see where we are. The early years, one can say like this, the early years of the ILE, they focus pretty much on really programmatic approaches, how to really implement WASH in schools, and looked also into the 3-star approach. It was developed over the years. And the recent and already also in Asia, the last ILEs, but also the ILEs in Africa now, they very much look into system strengthening and look also on new topics like climate resilience, MHH, and of course monitoring was always a part, and of course financing streams and so on, and budget allocation. Next slide. There was UNICEF prepared an evaluation of the ILEs that happened. They looked at the ILEs, 10 years ILEs, 2012 to 2022, and they looked into 10 into participating countries. And in sort of a desk review. They looked at the 6 existing ILE reports, did interviews with key players of the ILE, and did an online survey with 6 countries in the Western Pacific region. And also they used the enabling environment matrix of different countries, looked over years, where did the progress go, what could they see from there. And the results show the following. Yeah, we said that already. 9 countries, 9 ILEs, 25 countries, 1,000 participants, and focused also on those who came on a regular base, like Cambodia, Philippines, Bangladesh, and those who were not always participating, only sometimes. And the outcome was that there was a strong qualitative evidence that the ILE catalyzed national progress, strengthened the education leadership, and of course aligned regional effort on WASH in schools. There was so much learning between countries, and one could really observe that the learning within the region happened by countries supporting each other and learning from each other. And there was much alignment between the different countries. Next slide. Yeah. Perhaps just briefly, the first ILE was for Africa, happened in 2023 in Côte d'Ivoire. And you can see all the details here. It was in March, it happened. Again, the same, it was again organized by UNICEF and GIZ and hosted by the Ministry of Education. Government representatives from 22 countries participated, and all in all representative from 26 countries. So 4 countries came without any government representatives. The key themes and outcomes were really, again, the main topic: education, sector leadership, collaboration, how to improve this, strengthening the enabling policies. The focus was very much on clarifying roles and responsibilities between the different ministries, improvements in monitoring and evaluation, capacity development, finance and operation and maintenance. And we can see these are similar topics as we have still also today. These are the topics and how they evolve. Then there was a focus on menstrual health and hygiene. South-South learning was a great success. Countries had so-called country-to-country dialogues, which countries much appreciated, and exchanged on certain topics and exchanged their policies or looked how they can support each other, so that countries also can do here and there a shortcut, because they don't need to go through all the loops which other countries have already done. And at the end of the 4 days, we also had the Grand Bassam Action Agenda, which was sort of an outcome document, and this has been shared and circulated quite a lot after the ILE. Now we go to the second ILE, quite similar. These were 18 countries presented by government representatives. Again, also WASH in schools, partners, NGOs, development organizations, and international and national NGOs, and some international topic experts. A more integrated, holistic approach to WASH in schools, including MHH, climate resilient, economic issues, and we had also the toilet loss study to understand difference of or impact on not taking care of school toilets. This was all embedded in the program. We had focused on governance, policy, finance, data monitoring, innovation, very similar than we have it in all the years, because these are the topics which also appear in the enabling environment matrix, which we will soon go through. School visits, as usual, the school visits are always a great and important part of the ILE, which gives also opportunity to talk to different people, sit in the bus between other members of other countries, having time to talk and to discuss also what was being seen in the schools, and exchange what happens in their own country and explore what happens in other countries. Yeah, that was last year, and I think now we come to this year. Next slide, Belinda, can you move on? Yeah.
Yes, Bella.
Thank you very much. Yeah, sorry
Yes.
for browsing through this.
N-
And we hope also that we see people which have been with us in previous years. And this is sort of a journey we do together. And we're also happy, again, to do this together with UNICEF and many, many partners from all over the world, and specifically strong African representatives coming to the conference. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Bella. What an excellent presentation. Very clear, giving us the background starting back in 2012 to now, both what was done in Asia, the importance actually of, and I always, I'm marked by this. Before, when I met you, I remember you saying to me, before I actually got to be involved in ILE, you always used to say the bus rides are the best part of it because this is really where we have the exchanges. And I can say for the last two ILEs, and you brought it up in the slide here as well, that whole pairing and south to south learning, a lot of it is actually done on the bus rides, on the field visits, and having those exchanges, which are really, as they say in German, wertvoll, very, very valuable experiences. So thank you for sharing that with us, and I hope you can stick around for the question and answer session as well. Thank you. Perfect. So then I guess we're moving on to the enabling environment matrix and going through, this is another very important part of the ILE. I think Bella mentioned it. It very much frames how the ILE actually takes place. So with that, I would like to invite Mariah Bruckhusen onto the virtual floor to talk us through a little bit. And I think you're going to be sharing your slide at this point. So Mariah, are you with us? We haven't lost you.
Yeah, hi Belinda, hi everyone.
Yeah, I'm
You
going to
can
stop
hear
my
me?
share, and I'm going to give the floor to you. And thank you for taking us through the EE matrix.
Thanks so much, and good afternoon, good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see everyone online, and I really look forward to meeting you all very soon in person in South Africa. Today I'll be sharing a few points on the enabling environment matrix, or the EE matrix that Bella already introduced briefly in her presentation. So I'm going to try and share my window. In case there is a okay, I'm just going to keep it like this.
It's perfect.
That's fine, right?
Yeah,
everyone
absolutely
can see.
perfect.
Great, this is perfect. Great. Okay. So the EE matrix, what is this? It's a self-assessment tool for governments and for partners that you can use collectively at the national level to review progress in the key areas that we believe are essential for achieving basic WASH in schools, access to basic WASH in schools, which is in line with the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. So we call this the EE matrix. And this is a tool that is fully owned and should be fully owned by the country and the stakeholders that work on WASH in schools at the national level. So how this usually is being filled out is through a WASH in schools technical working group or a coordinating body. Other ways to fill the matrix could also be is bringing the country delegation together as a group to prepare for the ILE. So it is meant to jointly assess the progress and set the priorities for WASH in schools for the coming year. So it's, like I said, it's often in preparation for the ILE, but it could be used at any moment in time. If, for example, if a WINS technical working group or a coordinating body feels the need to look at the EE matrix and use this to assess progress and set priorities. So this matrix helps track and review progress annually, and especially if countries continue to fill this out on an annual basis, for example, in preparation for the ILE, it really gives a good idea of what progress has been made, what are the priorities, if there's any challenges that have been tackled and addressed. So it's a really great way to see where the WINS agenda is going at the national level. And Bella already mentioned that for the Asia ILEs, the evaluation of the EE matrix over a number of years was actually used to see how countries were able to progress their WINS work and how the EE matrix was a useful tool in helping them do this. So this EE matrix has a set of guiding questions, and these questions allow countries to assess the current status, identify gaps, and then compare progress over time. So, and these questions are kind of aligned to system strengthening building blocks or pillars. These building blocks or pillars are also identified in the UNICEF WASH in Schools Acceleration Framework, which is a system strengthening tool that can be used by the sector to look how what are the different components of the enabling environment and how this can be strengthened. And it's also based on the United Nations Water Acceleration Framework. So these different building blocks, you can see them here on the screen, are policy planning, governance, coordination, their budget and expenditure or finance. Then there is a whole block on monitoring, evaluation, so data. Then there is capacity development, and lastly, innovation. So, and I wanted to also note that the GLAS, which is a global monitoring body that looks at progress on WASH systems maturity, recently updated their national survey tool. There's a lot of questions on WASH in schools there as well, and they're very much aligned to the EE matrix as well. So if you're also participating in the GLAS data collection, then I think having a look at your EE matrix and the responses there could really help also contribute to the GLAS. So so what do we do when we fill in this matrix, and why is this so helpful? So we look at the different pillars, like I mentioned, and then first of all, we look at where are we now? What is the current status? What are the action areas for each of these guiding questions? What are the significant barriers or bottlenecks that we're facing? And then what could be indicators of success? Responsibility often is also really important. So which institution is the focal point? Who would lead a certain action or a certain policy implementation? Then we're also looking at previous achievements. So what have we achieved until now? And then what do we want to do next? So what is our plan for 2025, 26? And then lastly, there's space to add some additional comments. So it really helps to understand where we are, what are the challenges, what are the priorities. Now going a little bit deeper into these questions, and I will zoom in here. So in terms of policy and planning, so it's of course really important to know if there is a national policy or on WASH in Schools dedicated, or if there's, for example, an education policy that has a WASH in Schools component included. But we're going one step further here. We also asked around gender equality, social inclusion, and climate resilience. Are these components actually embedded into these national policies that mention WASH in Schools? So we really want to look at the equality and gender issues that are really crucial for WASH in Schools, and that have been more and more the focus of the ILE in the more recent years. We also look at guidelines, so please do not confuse policies and guidelines. Guidelines are used to implement the policies and give further direction. So we can have a policy, but if there is no clear responsibilities laid out or a coordinating body or mechanism to then implement policy and guideline, still this may not happen. So therefore, the next set of questions focus on the governance and the coordination. The third really important component is around financing. if we have targets, for example, laid out in the policy or in the guideline, but there is no detailed costing done and there is no finance identified to then further implement the policy, again, this may not happen. So having the understanding of if there is a costed national roadmap, if there is a finance strategy and a plan to mobilize funding can really help the country to understand where they are and how they can help to mobilize the resources needed to actually reach their targets that they have set. And then, of course, is the finance going to the right activities that has been identified? And that brings us to the monitoring and the data, the evaluation. So is Washington Schools included in the education management information system? Can this data be used by the joint monitoring program to track SDG progress? But also, are we going beyond basic Washington Schools and are we looking at other issues like gender, menstrual health, climate resilience, etc.? Then there are questions on the capacity. So we have targets, maybe we have a budget, maybe there is a coordinating body, but then is there indeed the capacity to roll out this policy? So is there a strategy or a plan? Are trainings being conducted, etc.? And then lastly, we have questions around innovation, for example, inclusion of climate risk data, standards and guidelines for climate resilient wash facilities in schools and designs, and are these available, etc. So these are some of the questions that we've laid out in the EE matrix, and we just wanted to say that for some people this is a new tool, but for many I hope it is not. So when you come together ahead of the ILE, we encourage you to also have a look at the past EE matrix. So reflect on the progress that has been made, identify what has changed. Of course, the way that the questions are interpreted by different people can be subjective. So it really depends on the perspectives, but this is a group exercise, we do hope that it's a useful tool. And we can look at previous years and based on that understand progress and priorities moving forward. The matrix may look slightly different than what you've seen in the last year. It continues to evolve as we continue to learn about system strengthening, including system strengthening for Washington Schools. New things come up, like the more prominence of issues around climate resilience, but also gender, menstrual health, but also more focus, for example, on finance, capacity, etc. So all these things continue to evolve, and we've also made it look a little nicer. So we really hope that this is a useful tool for everyone, and we look forward to receiving these matrices ahead of the ILE, and then use these also during the ILE to then plan ahead. Thank you so much, and back to you, Belinda.
Yeah, thank you very, very much for that excellent presentation to go through the ILE matrix, to go through some of the questions. And I actually have some questions that people have asked me before. And I think I'm going to lay one out as we're preparing for the next session. But one of the questions that's often it came about actually in Southeast Asia was, is this a type of tool used to compare countries? Because everybody's bringing in their ILE. So is it a tool to compare countries? Or what would you say is it? Yeah, because there's often this kind of fear or concern that if we present ourselves, we're going to be compared to another country in terms. But how is the ILE from your perspective? What do you see it as a tool?
Yeah, thank you, Belinda. That's a really good question. I don't think the intention for the ILE for us is to compare, but rather to learn from each other. And every country comes with its own background and context, and we are where we are, and it's really more about understanding where the country is, tracking the progress, and identify the bottlenecks, and use that information to then share a bus ride with another country and say, hey, we're facing challenges in terms of our budget for operation and maintenance. We're just not able to get this in place. How have you done that? You have done this really well. We want to learn from you. So it's really more a tool to understand what could be the priority for a country, and then maybe share that with others and see if there are things that a country can learn, and then hopefully track progress over time, you know, for the country itself, because every country is just where it is. And yeah, I don't think we are trying to compare countries at all here. It's really
well said. Yeah. Well said. Well responded. And of course, there should be no fear to fill it out. So countries should use that process to be as honest and reflective as possible. Bella?
Yeah, perhaps just to add on this, I think very important is there is no right, this is not a neutral tool. This is something very much from the perspective of the country itself. And what is, let's say, a good progress for one country might be very slow progress for another country. And that's no problem at all. This tool is really there for the countries themselves to look for their own progress and judge it for themselves. And it's nothing to be compared, and it's also not, there is no right or wrong. Yeah, so it is just helping technical working groups to keep the direction, not to lose certain aspects out of view, and try to steer the boat wash in schools within the education sector and make alignments and learn from each other. But it's not at all something to compare. I think it's a very important point, and good you highlight this again, Belinda and Mariah. I think super important. There is no right or wrong. And we can also it's very important to be honest as a country, just as a team. Yeah, it's for the team and for the country itself.
Thank you, Bella, for that great addition too. So then we go on to our now announcements and information about the ILE. And now we get into a bit more. So if I want to invite onto the virtual floor, Natalie Schmidt, she's the advisor with GIZ, and many of you will know her with the signature at the end of the some emails related to ILE. So welcome, Natalie. Thank you. So
Thanks.
You've put some of your ideas together, but I'll let you talk through them in terms of information, and then we go into an open discussion. So thanks again, Anneli. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Belinda, and also welcome to everyone who's joined. I'm always glad also to see familiar names from previous ILEs because I'm also the one handling the registration list. So I also always see your names. I know who you are. And yeah, I'm always happy to see familiar faces. So this is just before we can have questions, also as a very general announcement. So you all got now the invitation letters and the administrative note, the updated administrative note. So all the information that I'm telling you now is also in that note itself. So it should not, not be a surprise. But this is just also a reminder for the group that the accommodation will be covered, and we are expecting participants to arrive the day of the 10th, because the event starts on the 11th in the morning and it runs until the 14th, so Friday the 14th until 2 p.m. And just as a reminder, so what is covered is exactly the nights from 10th to 13th. So that means that you will have to check out on the 14th. And if you do arrive any earlier or wish to stay longer, then you need to organize that by yourself. So you see in the admin note the hotel which we're staying. So the hotel you can book directly via their site or also via Booking.com or other such platforms. So they are easy to find, and then we ask you to organize that yourself. This is also, maybe let me go just quickly to the travel, the reminder that please, this is also, participants must arrange their own travel, and also the travel from the airport to the venue. It's a very short drive, so Quebeca, that's how you also pronounce it. Belinda, it's not so big, so I think it's from the airport to the hotel. It's about a 10-minute drive, so it's not too long. But I encourage you, there are taxis in front, or I think the more common way is at is in our current age and time is Uber. So if you have an Uber that you have Uber service, that you can easily book it to the airport and then transport yourself to the hotel. And maybe also to the venue itself. So this year it will be the first time that the conferencing space itself is not directly in the hotel, because we are in the municipality building. But you do not have to worry about arranging any sort of travel between hotel or venue, because that will be organized by us. So we just ask you to arrive to the hotel on the 10th, and then when we start the conference, there will be a shuttle service, because it's also a very short drive, so like 5 to 10 minute drive between the two spots, and we will always provide shuttles and so on for participants to bring them to the conferencing space and back to the hotel. Yeah, of course, I encourage participants to always arrive on time. Maybe I skipped, I think, the visa issue. This is also travel planning. So also a reminder, this is also mentioned in the admin note, please check the visa requirements. There is not any facilitation that we as organizers can do. So that is really what you have to organize on yourself via the immigration website from South Africa. You find that also the website linked also in the admin note, but just please that you check early enough what are the requirements, if there are requirements for your country to go to South Africa. Okay, then Belinda, you can go to the next slide. Yeah, and then maybe last point is there's, as previous participants to previous ILEs know, we always have a little cultural night where we also leave the hotel and have some foods and some drinks and some music in a nice location. This will also again happen this year, and again encourage participants that feel free to also bring your national dress to the event, and to also think about a bit what is kind of like a little music or a song which represents your country. I think people also from the 23 ILE remember that we had a contest where each country selected also a song from their country, and we had that in the list. And so I give it just as an encouragement to everyone to already start thinking about it and what to bring. And then I think my last point, again, yes, please read the admin note. Please familiarize yourself with it. If there are any additional questions, feel also free to always just reach out via email. And then just also as a reminder for the preparation, as been mentioned before, please submit the email matrix and November. And the other thing that we are asking you to prepare is for the country dialogue session, where you have sort of a challenge that you identified, maybe also in your e-matrix, that you bring that to the ILE, so and into the session, so you can already have a thought about that beforehand. I think that's it for announcements and reminders. And yeah, back to you, Belinda. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you too. So, Kebera. Have I said it closer? Am I getting Kebera?
Kebera.
Kebera.
I think Knox can say it better, but
I'm
yeah.
gonna continue practicing. I love the way the sound of it, so I'm gonna keep practicing, and I'm sure by the time the ILE rolls, then I'm gonna be an expert at it. We might even have a contest. Great. So thank you, Natalie, for those very important points. And I think what I underlined is to really read that administrative note. It's got a lot of information on that, and if people are still not clear, of course, they can reach out. So with that, then we go to we open it up now for any questions, clarifications. We're doing excellent on time. And then if not, I will also have some questions. So I'm going to stop this share and also look on the chat to see if anybody has written a question, but the floor is now open. So if you don't mind, I'm going to stop the share and just see. Are there any questions? You can either raise your hand or you can, and I can also invite, if it's possible, Mariah again and Bella. So if people have also questions too related to that. Okay, I don't see any right now, so I'm going to go through my questions then, because these are actually not questions only for this. They actually have come in other discussions, so maybe this can kind of, and I see somebody has raised their hand, so I'm going to start with their questions first, and then I have a few from mine. So you can unmute yourself. We're family, so we're the ILE family learning, so you can unmute yourself if you prefer. I think you can be unmuted, or is it maybe I need to help you. Is it Monan?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Can you introduce
Yes,
yourself?
I just missed one. I missed it on the matrices. Could you just summarize to say the matrices? This is where I missed.
Okay. Can you
The
first
matrices.
introduce yourself?
My name is Teboho.
Oh, Teboho.
Teboho is Teboho from Lesotho.
Lesotho. Welcome, Teboho. Okay, so you just want to have a quick summary from Mariah on the EE matrix. And I think there was one important point that we might have forgot to mention, that the EE matrix, the deadline to fill them out and submit them is the 5th of November. So it's coming around the corner. Yeah, the 5th of November. And the matrices should be filled out to the best of your, the capacities that people can and the time. But Mariah, maybe elevator pitch, these 90-second pitches that they sometimes give these innovators. Can you kind of tell us what is the EE matrix in 90 seconds or so?
Okay, I'll try. But also, I think the session is being recorded, so for the more detailed explanation, just feel free to look at the session again and go through it, and then use the full information in the session to prepare for the EE matrix. So the EE matrix is a tool that can be used to track progress on the enabling environment for WASH in schools. We suggest that it's a fully country-owned, country-led process. So if there is, for example, a WASH in Schools technical working group or any other coordinating body in the country, that group can come together, look at the EE matrix, look at the guiding questions, and then, like Belinda said, fill it into the best of your capacity, to your ability. The questions look at what is the current status, what are potential bottlenecks or issues that you see, what are things you would like to take forward for next year, what are the priorities, but also who is then in the lead, who is the institution in your country who is leading on certain areas of work. And these guiding questions are built on the different system strengthening pillars that we use to track progress on the enabling environment. So it's around governance and policy, it's around data and monitoring, capacity building, innovation, financing. So these are the areas, and then there's a lot more detail into the EE matrix, which you can see, and also have a look at the recording. Thank you.
Perfectly and well said. Thank you. That 90-second pitch was perfect. I have actually a couple of questions on the EE matrix, which I will also maybe address to Bella. I have a couple, and then maybe one to you, Natalie, is coming around security concerns or potential, like what the security situation. There's always that question. But Bella, is it only expected that governments, because we talk a lot, it's around the ministries of education, but is it only expected that governments are to fill out the EE matrix, or how can it happen? And then another interesting question is, has it ever been a situation from your experience? Have you seen that countries sometimes score good one year, so all green in one year, and the next year not so good? So those are the two questions to Bella.
Yeah, number one, of course, it's not only the government, it's the government and the supporting partners. It's always the question in a country who is bringing efforts for the national WASH in Schools programming, or in certain areas of a country there is an active NGO. They might also be in the national group. Normally it's a group on the national level looking for the different WASH in Schools initiative within a country, and the EE matrix helps them to keep on track and to see where they are. So it's normally the government is in the lead, but there might be also a situation where an NGO brings it up and tries to get the government into the group, but it is very important that always there's an effort to have the government in the lead. And the other question, is it possible that everything is scored green and a year later you see a lot of things might be not green anymore, or even red in some areas? Of course, that's also possible because there will be different people working on it, or certain things might have happened while certain processes might have been interrupted, or things have become more difficult. I think also when we looked in the past, very often we saw that quite a lot was green, where we were thinking, my goodness, if everything's really scored green, why does the global JMP map is still not far better than we can see in the enabling environment matrix? But it's something which is suggested to really see from the perspective of the people who do it. They might be encouraged because there is good momentum for certain aspects, so they score it perhaps better than the situation is in reality. And it's always clear it is not a tool which can be totally compared between countries, but it's important to see within a country. It's good to look what is the process there, where do we have changes, and why do we have changes? And it's always a point to just track where you are and look for explanation, why are things as they are, and explain or put down your bottleneck and see to address it. And also focus together on where do we see low-hanging fruits, what can we do together, how do we start the journey? Perhaps is this explanation enough?
Yeah, thank you very much. I have two more, but it will go to Mariah. But I just around, I mean, the administrative note doesn't go into it around security, but there will be. Can you speak to anything around the organization around security, communications, things that maybe might be concerns or issues for participants?
Okay, so when you go below, get down in the administrative note, there's also an aspect to the security aspect. So, I mean, I think many of you are aware South Africa can be a bit, a country where there's also some areas of conflicts. Thankfully, Gqeberha is in comparison to like the bigger towns such as Johannesburg, for example, much safer. But still, of course, no, we always say take the usual precautions. No, if you are out on your own, don't be alone. Don't be alone at night. Always know, the kind of numbers that you need to keep in mind. So the numbers for the police and so on. Inform people where you're going if you go anywhere, which is not the hotel or the conferencing space. And then, of course, don't take all your belongings and very expensive belongings with you if you do venture out into the city. Other than that, of course, I can just assure you that, of course, the hotel and also the conferencing venue itself, they adhere to the security standards and are also protected. And of course, now when we do school visits, for example, we work with the district officials and also with the police that there is protection for all the participants.
Yes, and around the jewels, you don't want to be like the Louvre and lose all your jewels like this as well. Yeah, for sure. So maybe to close off the question, at least from my side, and things that have come to me, is to you, Mariah, and I think you kind of said it in your presentation already, but how can, there's a lot of effort to fill in the EE matrix, but how can it be linked, or is it linked to other sector monitoring tools or other uses? And can you also speak to maybe some potential strategic uses of this? If people take the efforts to come together, is there some other strategic uses they can use the EE matrix? And that's my last question received. Yeah.
Thanks, Belinda. Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I mentioned already, there is also another monitoring body, WHO, UNICEF, who are looking at system strengthening for the WASH sector. This includes Washington institutions. It's called GLASS. And the GLASS National Survey Tool was recently updated, and I actually went through it in a lot of detail just last week. And I noticed that when you do a search for Washington schools, the number of questions has increased significantly since previous survey tools. And the questions are very much in sync with what we are looking at when it comes to the EE matrix. So I think if your country is also participating in GLASS and you already have done some efforts to fill in the EE matrix, it's a really great way to use the tool to then fill out the GLASS survey, and also vice versa. So if you have already done the GLASS data collection, you could use that to have another look at the EE matrix. But other than that, I think the EE matrix is also just a really good tool to have a discussion in more depth with your technical working group or with your country delegation, government and partners, to dive deeper into the enabling environment, the systems that are needed to achieve basic WASH in schools. And it really has to go beyond just constructing toilets and water supply systems. We have to ensure that these are sustained, these are clean, students actually use them, and that the systems are in place to make this all happen, and that this is a sustainable investment. So I think it is a way to bring people together, identify challenges, and then set the priorities. And this could also then be translated into a Washington Schools a roadmap or a plan that identifies clear actions for the year, plus hopefully a budget to take these actions forward. So it can really be used as a planning tool for the sector at the country level, as well as, for example, for global monitoring for systems like the GLASS, to look at where we are in terms of the maturity of the Washington School systems. So I hope that's helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And maybe, I think it really underlines the points that you made. It is a learning, it's a planning, and also a reporting tool, and can be very well used in other areas. So to close us off, Bella, any last comments as people prepare for the ILE and before we meet ourselves in Quivira? Am I getting close, Max?
No, so yeah, thanks a lot. No, I think there's not much left, and I think great if there are further questions, you can even just write an email, and we will see to answer this. But I think all has been well explained, and I think otherwise look at the recording, look at the website of the WINS network, so it will be on the website. I think that's fine. Yeah, Mariah, you still have something to add?
Yeah, I forgot to mention, I think what just for everyone's benefit, ideally the EE matrix should be filled out as a country delegation. So if you're here on the call and you're not actually sure whom is from your country is going to the ILE, who is able to participate, there are country coordinators for each delegation. So if you're not sure whom to connect with, feel free to also reach out to us. Natalie can really help. She's the mastermind with the registration list, and we can help and connect you just in case. We want to make sure that everyone is connected. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and thank you too, Mariah Broekhuizen, Bella Mons, and as well, Natalie Schmidt. We welcome and we thank you all, and to everybody who stayed till the end and participated in this webinar. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking your precious time, and we look forward to seeing you in the former Port Elizabeth. Take care.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.